It's time to talk sports. It's time for the show. When you hear this song on the radio, it's time to tune in. Better act fast. Let me get that potograph. Potograph, Sports Talk Radio. Starting now.
Let's go! What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 166 of Let Me Get That Potograph. My name, as always, is Drew, or the DH, and joining me, my awesome co-host, Scott Rappaport. What up,
What's
dude?
up, Drew?
Not too much, man. Not too much. How about yourself?
Oh, living the dream. Sort of, kind of, not really. Well, I almost quit that little soccer refereeing experiment that I started this year, and it wasn't because of the kids or anything like that. No, it's the fucking parents, dude. I'm telling you, man, it is the worst. And it's not, I wasn't even doing it, like the game that just got to me. It wasn't even like a U19, U18, No, it's a bunch of U10 kids, 9-year-olds.
Bro, 7 years old. I just last week had to yell across the field. This is why they don't like me at some games, I'm sure. But I had to yell across the field at a guy because of how he was acting. Basically telling him to shut the hell up.
It's, man, I cannot. Yeah, it's like usually I haven't had many problems this season, but I've heard of them. And this was the first game that I've come across where it's like, wholly unbearable.
Yeah. No, the parents are absolutely the worst when it comes to youth sports. 100%.
Yeah. There's no college scouts that are sitting there watching their kids. There's nobody from Man City that's scouting their kid and saying, "Hey, come play for our academy."
That's only in the parents' heads.
And that's the thing. It's like, this isn't the World Cup. This isn't even like high school playoffs. Like, they're not playing for a state championship.
This is when you learn the game.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And some of the coaches have it right. I did a U8 game the next day, and it was awesome because both coaches were bought in on, look, this isn't about, like, they didn't even care about the score. Yeah. It was all like, hey, like, look, we don't care what the score is. I don't care what you write down. I don't care what you submit to the league.
Yeah.
This is about developing these players. And it's like, okay, finally, somebody gets it.
As long as you don't have 20 parents on the field helping, like some coaches do, then.
Well, no, the league that I ref in doesn't allow it. You have to be a licensed coach. This isn't the house league. This is it's travel.
That's good.
So they, that part is taken seriously, but some of these parents, like, wow, it was bad.
Well, hang in there because I enjoyed the experiences. But welcome, everybody, to episode 166. Going to be a little bit of a short episode today. Got a couple topics that we're going to touch on. We both had a pretty crazy week, but we wanted to make sure to squeeze in something in here for you guys because there were a couple things going on in the hobby that I think are very worthwhile talking about. And Scott, I want to dive right in with the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And that is that through PWCC last week, a Jerry Rice green PMG numbered to 15 because they do 10% of the PMG run as greens, and there were 150 in football, 100 in basketball. So there's 15 total copies. Graded a PSA 6, set a record for the highest selling card from 90s football. Period. Not just Jerry Rice, but any player ever, when it sold for $150,000. Now, what makes this so interesting to me, Scott, is there's 14 other copies of this card plus the one graded that we know of.
Yep.
This is the first time it has ever been sold publicly in a known public sale. Any copy, not just that card. And I thought that was the coolest thing for so many reasons I'll get into here in a minute.
Well, obviously, the price reflects a couple of different things. One of them is just what you brought up, is that none of the 15 until now had been put up for public sale. Now, the other part is obviously it's Jerry Rice.
Yes.
But what shocked me is that, with football cards today, if it's not a quarterback, it doesn't command big money.
Right,
But
but
in this
remember on the
case,
show a couple of weeks ago, we were talking and I was saying that one thing I think that you'd start to see in the hobby was non-quarterbacks getting a lot of love. Let's face it, when Davis Mills stuff is going for $100,000, when Bailey Zapp stuff is going for, I mean, I just experienced it. When Bailey Zapp's going for thousands and thousands of dollars based off a Monday Night Football game, no one can collect these guys. And a lot of the high-end guys are looking at this, the people that are buying this stuff and saying, I'm staying far away from this hot potato game of quarterback sales that we're seeing right now. And so I think you're going to see players like that. Now, granted, this is probably Jerry Rice. You could argue this is Jerry Rice's biggest cardio.
It's possible. Because obviously there's, his rookie, his 86 Topps rookie is a big card. But there were millions of those printed.
Exactly.
And so that becomes a little bit different. Now, as far as the quarterbacks, I mean, it's all, if you're spending big money on quarterbacks that have come into the league in the last like 3 or 4 years, what you're really doing is speculating. That is the version in football of what guys do with Bowman Chrome prospects in baseball. And I don't see any issue spending big money on established or all-time greats when it comes to quarterbacks. People should be spending big money on, your Dan Marinos, your Aikmans, your Joe Montanas, I want to say proven champions, but Dan Marino never won a championship. But it's one of those things. But there's very few players in football that are not quarterbacks that sell for big money like that. Imagine, I would love if there had been a Walter Payton PMG,
right?
Or a Jim Wright, Jim Brown, PMG. I mean, imagine what those greens would go for.
I know. I think that has a lot to do with it too. Is that Jerry Rice is right there on the cusp of when they made it, and that was when he was uber popular. That's when he was setting record after record, season after season. But I think it's a really good it's a case study almost in actual rarity versus artificial rarity. And I'll give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. Patrick Mahomes gold vinyl rookie. The same card, number 4 out of 5, has sold 4 times this year. It has sold 4 times in the last year and a half. The Jerry Rice has never sold publicly ever. So while it's numbered out of 15 and the Mahomes is numbered out of 5, you could argue that Jerry Rice is 50 times more rare than the Mahomes, considering the fact that the Mahomes you can always have a chance to get. Yeah. There's not another green Jerry Rice out there that's been shown. If at any time, now would be the time to say, yo, I got a Jerry Rice green PMG too, and I'm sure if anyone has them and they realize it, I'm sure they're at PSA or somewhere right now being graded, and we'll hear that very soon and see them soon. I'll be interested to see if some pop up. But I think this is a really good example of, look, the numbering on the card and everything like that may say it's super low, but if it's always available, it's not necessarily as rare as something that's not always there. Another example of this, the Tom Brady that just sold his Contenders auto, lowest sale ever. Okay. Well, his Bowman Chrome in a PSA, I can't remember, but it's a Pop 7. I think it's a PSA 10. In a Pop 7, just hit its record high. Yeah. Once again, there's more of the Bowman Chromes than there are of the autographs, and the Bowman Chrome's not autographed, but it's a Pop 7. It's something you don't.
And this was this was the refractor.
Yes.
Not the base Bowman Chrome. So if you guys people are listening to like, oh my God, I gotta go find it's a $450,000 No, that's the refractor.
It was the refractor, but it's an interesting case study on artificial rarity versus perceived rarity, so to speak.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think the grade or the fact that it was even graded played a part.
Not one bit. Not one bit.
Now, I do think if it was a higher grade, it probably would have gone a little higher. But I don't see that because are there any others that have been not sold? Because we know there haven't been any that have been publicly sold anyway. But are there other copies known to exist? Or do you think there's a bunch of them still sitting in unopened product?
I think there's a lot in unopened product now. Someone that I know says they have one. I believe they have a red. And I believe if they do have one, it's one of the later years when they did it later on. I don't think it's the exact same one because I just don't see how they wouldn't have known they had this ahead of time.
Yeah, it might be a collegiate uniform,
right? And I still haven't seen the picture, and it's very easy to just go get it and take a picture and show me.
Yeah.
So I'm not completely sure on that end that I buy that this person has it, but I mean. I think a lot are still in unopened boxes, just like Star Rubies, just like some of the Z-Force Super rares and everything like that. I think a lot of those, heck, the Michael Jordan Fleer Ultra 101 Masterpiece was still in the box up until 8 months ago.
Wow.
I mean, I talked to the guy who actually pulled it and graded it. It was the first card graded at the National, and people had been buying those Ultra boxes that stayed so expensive because the Jordan never appeared.
Yeah.
He hit it 8 months ago. So it took 20 some years for that to come out. I think a lot of the greens are probably in the box. There's a lot of that metal available. It's not very expensive to buy. And you can hit PMGs. It's just hitting a green PMG Jerry Rice.
So wait a minute. You mean to tell me that Masterpiece 101 Jordan didn't wind up with backyard breaks?
No.
Wow. Not. So there goes that theory that they get all that. No, I'm just
no, that did not go to backyard breaks, surprisingly. But yeah, so very interesting sale out in the hobby right now, and more further proof that I think supports my argument that we're going to see wide receivers, running backs, and even some defensive players. I think, look at Micah Parsons. His prices are skyrocketing right now. I think you're going to start to see a lot of quote unquote secondary positions. I hate using that term because they're not, but in the hobby for 2-3 decades, absolutely. But I think the new era of collecting, the new way that the hobby is, I think it supports being able to do all of this. You know what I mean? Be able to support all the other players. And so this Jerry Rice, I think, is a prime example of that. And I'm going to be very interested to see if another green comes up. A red did sell right after raw for $25.6K. So even the reds are shooting up there raw. This is a card that's going to capture a lot of attention. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with the rest of the set, as well as there's a lot of big names in it.
And you don't see a lot of the football PMGs pop up.
No.
Even though there's more of them than there were of the basketball ones, everybody's all hyped about the basketball PMGs. Like, you almost forget that they made a football product that had them.
Yes. No, you do. And like I said, go take a look on eBay right now. The boxes, at least compared to metal basketball, which still metal basketball is not astronomical compared to releases that are coming out today. Metal football, quite affordable and not as tough to pull PMGs with 150 total. We've pulled
but you also have more cards in the set too.
Of course. Yes.
Basketball,
but it's out there.
Lower number
if you want to chase the Rice, it's absolutely out there. Apparently there's probably a good, I'd say 7 or 8 still left in the box. The greens. I just don't think a lot of them have been pulled because there's a lot of that product unopened. Or maybe we see 13 of them pop up in the next 6 months, all graded by PSA.
Everybody's gonna start going through their boxes of mid 90s football, and there may be a couple that pop up that like, oh hey, well, we knew about this, we just kind of put it away for now, and now they just decide to pull it out. So I think we see some that pop up in the next couple of months.
Oh no, absolutely.
I don't think
if
we
you guys
see a
have
ton.
any, and there are any out there, please let us know. I would love to know, and we'll get you in touch with the right people to help you get that. If you want to sell it, grade it, whatever, get that all taken care of and squared away. But let us know. We'd love to hear from you. But Scott, on that note, I think we'll move on now. As I said, guys, this is going to be an abbreviated episode of Let Me Get That Potograph. We'll be back with a full-on episode, jam-packed next week. But Scott, we got something big going on right now, and that is it's World Series time. And every year, the World Series just captivates the hobby. The World Series and everything really cranks up the baseball hobby. Baseball collectors always know, it's the end of the year, so they get all that extra collecting in, I think, just like in the finals right before the off season. A lot of selling, moving, and shaking going on. From a hobby standpoint, how do you view this World Series between Houston and Philly? Because I think it's an interesting one on a couple levels.
So I think this is going to be the exception year when it comes to people selling and people buying, when it comes to the teams that are left in the World Series. People are still having issues with the Astros, dating back to obviously the cheating scandal and stuff like that. People don't tend to like dynasties. And now that doesn't mean that they've won,
right.
But they've got one, but they've appeared in the World Series, 4 of the last 6 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. And frankly, their players aren't getting a lot of the hobby love that they should. And I'll touch on that one
unfairly.
Philly, on the other hand, has some powerhouse names that and don't get me wrong, there's some powerhouse names in Houston too that just have not gotten the hobby love. But Bryce Harper, I think, is the biggest one that sticks out, that stands to make the biggest jump from a pricing standpoint. And his stuff, I don't want to say he was cheap, because he's not, but get a couple of his Bowman Chrome autos, and things like that.
Yeah,
I think if as long as he plays well, and he just coming off the NLCS MVP, he played very well within the, in that series. I'm looking at some of the rookies from the last couple of years that are Hoskins is killing it.
Yes.
But then you also got Alec Bohm.
Yep.
Who there's if he just goes off, there's potential for a big pickup with him.
Well, then on the other side, look at Jordan and Kyle Tucker. I mean, Kyle Tucker had like hype for a week or two, and then it disappeared. And now the dude's raking.
Yep.
I mean, they're everywhere. The youth talent. Forget the guys on the Astros that were involved in the cheating scandal. Blah blah blah. Pena, Jordan, people like that had nothing. Kyle Tucker had nothing to do with that type of stuff.
Pena, I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out why they gave him the ALCS MVP. Because really the only thing, he played well, but really the only thing that he did was hit that Game 4 home run.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know about that. I mean, Bregman has been destroying
the ball.
The entire series, the entire playoffs, and he was hands down, I think, the guy who should have gotten the ALCS MVP. And
I think they gave it to Pena just to keep everything away from. It was either going to go to Pena or Jordan, and I think they gave it to Pena because of Game 4, because they want to keep everything from the cheating scandal as far away as possible. They don't want to give Bregman that trophy and then have every show the next day saying a guy from a cheating scandal won this MVP. It's very political. It's a bunch of bullshit, but hey, it is what it is.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that, they were going to go, they didn't give it to Bregman specifically because if they did give it to Bregman, it would prove Kanye right.
And,
we don't want that
could be true.
No, the Jewish guy winning it. No, that's not. Yeah, so we're not going to give it to him.
Yeah,
I'm a member of the tribe. I can get away with that kind of stuff.
Yes, you can.
But he, I don't know if that played a part in it or not.
Yeah,
but it's, one of those.
It was
things
an interesting choice.
It was a thought. It was a thought that definitely crossed my mind.
But I think, you mentioned that you think this is going to be the exception of a year where there's not a lot of buying, there's not a lot of selling and stuff like that. I think you're wrong. I actually think this is going to be a perfect time for a lot of people to buy a lot of the players we just mentioned. Win or lose, I think Pena and Jordan come out of this astronomically higher in the long run. Win or lose, I think Bryce Harper comes out of this astronomically higher than he was before. Win or lose, I think Hoskins. Win or lose, I think Bohm. All of them, I think, come out better in the hobby than they did before, unless they all just come out and this is the worst World Series ever.
Well, Jordan specifically gets no love.
No, and it's so ridiculous.
It's now, granted, he is predominantly a designated hitter and, traditionally within the hobby for some unknown reason, even though it's all about the players hitting and not about their fielding, what drives prices. Designated hitters, for some strange reason, don't get the hobby love.
Well, it's one of those things in the hobby that makes perfect sense, like Aaron Judge. How many times do you see fielding highlights from him? Never. How many times do you see moonshots? All the time.
Yep.
He's super hyped. How many times do you see fielding from Jordan? Never. Moonshots all the time.
Well, you don't see him out of Jordan because he only plays 15% of the games out in left field or something like that. The odds.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying you see moonshots from both, and that's it. That's the only highlights you see from any of them.
It's not just them. You hardly ever see, outside of the most amazing thing, where the guy climbs the fence.
Yeah.
To rob a home run, which really doesn't happen anymore. You really don't see the defensive highlights.
Yeah, I know.
And it's all in that, when you're talking about, hey, why is this guy selling for this much? Well, hey, he's batting X amount. He's got 40 home runs, and it's all about the batting. It's not about their fielding, which drives me nuts.
Gold glove, blah blah blah. It just doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't matter. But and that's why it boggles the mind as to why Yordan Alvarez is not selling and hasn't been, to where he should be given his level of play.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And on that note, I'm going to make him a mover and shaker this week since we're skipping that subject. But I think he is an incredible buy. I don't think he stays in Houston because nobody ever stays anywhere in baseball. So he'll go to a big market somewhere, and I think he'll just absolutely dominate for a long time. But Jordan and Pena both have showed me a ton, and so is Hoskins. Hoskins and Bohm have showed me a ton. Those four kids have showed me that they're the real deal. But and one day they're going to get paid quite a bit.
Yeah, but, and Hoskins is another guy who kind of fell off within the hobby. He hasn't. I mean, he got some love in the beginning, but it was very brief, and the prices just kind of fell off. And frankly, if I were in a buying mood right now, I'd be going and grabbing his stuff, Topps Chrome refractors and autos and things like that. I'd be grabbing up Jordan. I'd be grabbing up Pena is actually still high because he just came up this year. So his stuff is still, is up there a little bit. Harper's always been up there. I mean, it's always worth having a couple of pieces from him, but that's where my mind is at right now is, pick up all of them.
Absolutely. So with that said, we'll end it with this. Who you got winning the World Series?
My heart wants Philly. My wallet says Houston.
I asked Jude the same question, and he said, I really want Philly to win, but Houston's going to win. So I'm going to go with you guys. I think it's the exact same thing. But one thing's for sure, a lot of those young folks are going to be getting paid after this postseason. And speaking of get paid, we got to go pay some bills. So we'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody, to episode 166 of Let Me Get That Potograph, an abbreviated episode.
Hey, and Drew, you know what else is back?
What?
The NBA.
Yeah!
It's that exciting time of year where you get to look and see what teams really screwed up in the draft. and what teams kind of hit a home run. Who are the rookies you're going to be chasing? Who are the veterans that are going to wind up getting injured and falling off? And
my year 3 players that take that next step. I love it. It's the best time of year for me.
And then how many games in a row can a team with LeBron James on it lose?
Yeah.
That is one of those things that I really look forward to at the beginning of every season. And the Lakers are now 0-4.
With a very good chance to go 0-6 or more. Looking at their schedule. So that'll be interesting to see nonetheless. But yes, the NBA is back. And guys, I know a lot of you are saying, who are the rookies, since you didn't watch the draft, but I'll tell you right now, and there's no products out right now, it's going to be a little bit before those NBA products come out. It's probably almost going to be almost half a year before of a season before we start to get rookie cards of the new rookies. But I'll tell you right now, this is a very talented class, but the classes of the last 2 years, you're starting to see the guys that were drafted in the top 10 or the top 15 that got no hobby love starting to really reach their full potential in so many ways. I mean, you've got future superstars all over the court. The last 3 years, you want to talk about being spoiled, and we've got some amazing rookies in this class, but you want to talk about being spoiled. The last 2 years in basketball, we were given half of the league for the next decade.
Yep. And this year, there were a lot of people questioning why Orlando would skip over a couple of guys and wind up taking Paolo Banchero number 1 overall. I'll tell you, even though the Magic are currently 0-5, Banchero is absolutely killing it and is showing why the Magic took him number 1 overall.
Yeah, the Magic's problem's not Paolo Banchero. He's insane. The Magic's problem is they also traded and signed 20 other big men. So all they have is big men. They can't run. They can't do anything but just what a big man does. But Paulo is going to be an absolute monster. But I mean, Ja continuing to improve. Zion took a little scary fall, but he's going to be fine. So
he'll be fine. But the fact that he's putting up, I mean, he's still on a minutes restriction, I think.
Yeah, and was putting up insane numbers.
Yes. And he still is. I think we are, as long as he can stay healthy, I think we are seeing, the true potential of Zion. And I think that if you haven't stocked up on his stuff while he was out injured and the prices were low, you may have missed your window.
Yeah.
But there still might be a little bit of time.
Yeah. And Michael Porter Jr. fans, he is currently out injured. So good luck with that.
But when he was playing before he got hurt, he actually was putting up okay numbers.
He always does.
Yeah.
He's gone. So there you go. Have fun with that, guys.
You always got to bring that one up.
Yep.
Look, I am happy with the parity that has been going on in the league. I mean, teams that were supposed to start off, and have monster seasons like the Sixers were not. It's a good thing the Phillies are in the World Series because it gives Philadelphia something to watch for 5 days of the week while the Sixers continue to struggle. Or I'm sorry, for like 6 days during the week. And then that final day, you can go watch the Eagles because they're killing it this year. But the Sixers are having a horrible start to the season. The Lakers, with their lineup that they've got, they were supposed to have a massive run at the beginning of the season, and they're not. And then you've got teams that weren't supposed to be doing well that are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the Bulls.
Yeah.
They go down, and the Heat were supposed to be a great team, and they go down in the first night and beat Heat without Zach LaVine.
Yes.
So we're looking at all this weird stuff going on. New Orleans is kind of, has been a surprise.
Absolutely. And the Grizzlies, like I thought, taking that next step I still think the Grizzlies and the Hornets are both going to end up being two powerhouses. I think they're on that emergence and on that movement. Hornets are starting slow, but they're getting everything together, and man, can they shoot. But it's going to be interesting to see how long the parity lasts in basketball. But I'm telling you right now, basketball guys, I know you're sitting there thinking there's not many products coming out. There's no new rookie products. You need to start grabbing the stuff from the last couple of years quickly, opening those boxes until stuff comes out that you want. Maybe focus on another sport too, but there's going to be plenty this year, and pay attention to these rookies now and find those rookies now, because this is a very strong class. And I have a feeling that this is going to be one of the more fun NBA seasons hobby wise that we've seen in a long time. Because I see 8 to 10 players making major jumps, whether it be from mid-level player to superstar or from fringe superstar to max contract elite superstar. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year. I think the NBA, it's just getting into full gear with a couple of games. As this season goes on, I think you're really going to start to see some absolutely amazing stuff.
Well, Drew, let me ask you this. The biggest surprise overall so far this year has been the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
And how do you think that starts? Everybody's expecting them to go, over for a while this season, because they're supposed to be in a massive rebuilding year after all of their stars.
Yeah.
But you got guys that, could have a career resurgence there.
Mm-hmm.
Lauri Markkanen comes to mind. Jared Vanderbilt, a guy who he never really got any hobby love to begin with, but he's bounced around and is playing pretty well. But, how do you think that start with Utah is going to affect, the veteran players that kind of have been crapped on within the hobby? I mean, Markkanen stuff was hot when he was a rookie.
Oh, yeah.
Has completely fallen off the radar.
Well, it can easily bring him right back into it. I don't have faith that it's going to hold up. Sadly, I just don't think Utah is not there yet. It's a great start. It's a cool, fun start. I think they're going to be better than people think. I think they've got some talented players that are going to get some increased hobby love, but I don't see them being able to hold out exactly how they're playing right now. Just like I don't see a couple of pro football teams because of how young they are. It's just certain things that I just don't like about it. So I don't know, but it's been quite interesting. A much younger and, lower seeded team that I see getting tremendously better is the Cavs. I think the Cavs are going to be insane. Jalen Green is a monster. Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards, John Morant, you might as well chisel them onto the next decade's Mount Rushmore almost at this point. They're just playing so ridiculously good. It's not even funny. So I don't know as far as Utah goes. It's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, it's very, very much chalked with parity this year. The question is how long does that parity last before the weak separate themselves from, the big separate themselves from the herd, so to speak.
Well, and, how long are these teams that are supposed to be amazing, how far do they fall behind before they start, coming back? And is it possible that one of them or multiple of them falls so far behind that they're not able to crawl back?
Yeah, and everybody listening, pay attention. Those teams that fall so far back, that's the time when you grab those stars, because that's when they start to drop. So be paying attention to those teams that drop. Don't think just because they're on a bad team or they're dropping that they're not worth taking a look at, because I think a lot of people always kind of skip that over. But the NBA season has begun. I'm excited because it's one of my favorite times of the year, man. We got football. We got the World Series going on. We got basketball. We got hockey. It's a bettor's paradise for a little while. I love it. So, yes, the NBA season is starting. And although the new NBA rookie hobby season hasn't started yet, it will be really soon, and you'll have quite a few products here coming up. But, Scott, speaking of new products.
Yep. It's coming out tomorrow. Topps update.
Oh, yeah.
That time of year where all the rookies that everybody was chasing throughout the year and other products finally makes their appearance as a non-short print in a flagship product.
Yes.
With the exception of Atlanta Braves rookie Michael Harris III, because he has been held over till 2023 for some unknown reason, even though he got called up before the deadline to make
him and Alec Burleson are going to run Series 1 next year.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure why they held him. And I mean, I kind of know because update is going to be loaded this year.
Yeah, update's
This
loaded.
this is going to be another version of 2018 update that was loaded with rookies. 2019 update, 2020 update was kind of a COVID year garbage, but and 2021 update was nothing special. So 2022 is finally back. I'm excited to see what what parallels are going to get pulled in the first couple of days. How many rips, and at the end of the first, let's call it the end of the year. How are the pop reports going to look for Julio Rodriguez, Torkelson, Witt, and the bunch? What are those going to look like?
They're going to be astronomical. They're going to be Lubob level stuff. I mean, I think we need to look at it. PSA, SGC, everybody, they're dropping their prices back down again to where base cards are gradable again. But you're going to look at 10s selling for probably, of a normal guy, probably 50, 60 bucks. And you're going to see 9 sell for about 25, 30. And you're going to sell raw sell for $5. I think that's just kind of where we're at now. When some of these guys go on massive tears, sure, you might have a couple of times. One of them might bump up a little higher. Who knows? But in terms of just those base rookies, those days are over with.
Oh, yeah.
Those days are way over with. I got 1,000 Jordan rookies sitting right down there that can tell you that those
I have the exact same problem. Not just him. I got Bichette.
Well, same here. Nico.
Nico Horner, all the the guys from 2020. They just killed me.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Curious to see what the parallels are going to wind up selling at, what the market's going to, do with those.
See, something we mentioned, Topps needs to be really freaking careful for, because one of the things they relied on the most was their flagship, and that flagship rookie being, such a big deal. You get to the point where the pop reports are so big that people don't want them anymore and they're selling that low. Your product, the value, the perceived value in the eyes of collectors goes down.
Well, here's the problem. And this is a problem that dates back for years, and it's not even a Topps problem. It's a grading problem.
Yeah. Well,
grading was never, it wasn't really designed for the base rookie. And people just got, they needed a way to differentiate the one that they were selling from the raw one where there's, a million copies of. And grading was the way to do it. And now, because of that, now we've got tens of thousands of graded versions of that card. And that is what bogged the grading companies down.
Well, of course it was. I did a submission once where the entire box was 1,800 Kyle Lewis Topps and Topps Chrome rookies. It was one person submission.
Talk about a loss on that.
Yeah, he ended up not paying for it, so we're dealing with that in another issue. But yeah,
that's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, but anyway, the rookies, baseball in particular, I think it's going to move more and more towards the Bowman, because Bowman's not near as printed. Bowman, the first Bowmans have that legacy in them. I think Bowman with the other sports, which next week we're going to touch on another product I know you're excited for, but Bowman is expanding into multiple other sports where I think the first Bowman designation is going to carry a large distinction. I mean, look at Bowman U basketball. I just sold a Shaden Sharp first Bowman orange non-auto for $185.
Wow.
These first Bowmans are holding massive value in the new Bowman sets. And so I think you're going to see the flagship set kind of move away. People move towards the Bowman era in baseball in terms of what that true rookie is, what that valuable rookie is, unless it's that short print, super short print, or a parallel from the flagship set.
And something we'll talk about next week as well. Speaking of new releases, there is something missing from every release calendar that I can find. and that is 2022 Bowman Draft.
Well, now.
I can't. So Bowman Chrome is late. It's normally a September release. It's going to wind up coming out in November this year. But I have not been able to find any information on 2022 Bowman Draft.
Well, at least you told me now and gave me about 5 days to do some research and talk to some people, and hopefully we can find out where that is before next week's show.
Yes, so we will talk about that next week. But I'm excited for update coming out. You know, I'll go grab a box or two or something like that tomorrow and see if we can make that happen. And maybe I'll pull something big and we'll talk about it next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for update. I mean, I always grab the flagship rookies. I like to do set building and stuff with Jude. These are sets and things we build all the time. Little tired of the design, but that's just product fatigue from 80,000 different releases in sports having the same design. But I think that's just natural. By the time it gets to update, I'm a little worn out, but I'm excited to see what they do. It's nice to have some rookies in it. I was sad Alec Burleson didn't make the cut. I just need one ECU guy to chase guys, but give it to me next year at least. Maybe I'll like the design better. But overall, update, awesome release. Make sure to definitely check it out. But Scotty Boy, I know we're both on a very, very tight schedule this week, so I think that's probably a good time to wrap this show up. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan to me. Next week we'll be back with a full-length episode, and then we'll have some good updates for you and a lot of stuff to talk about as the World Series progresses.
Absolutely. So yes, like Scott said, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Also want to thank all of our awesome sponsors: Vandy Slabs, Show Your Slabs, Denver Card Shows, and of course Slab Strong. Could not do the show without you guys. New episode of Let Her Rip will also be out this week. Make sure to check it out. Sponsored by Panini and Upper Deck. And, of course, Hobby Hotline every Tuesday night, Hobby Hotline Overtime, and Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. over on the Bench Clear Media site. So make sure to check that out as well. A lot of awesome stuff coming up soon. But until next week, guys, you know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hits. We'll talk to you then. Peace!